Employment report was pretty good up for the prior month of May, 559,000 jobs added to the economy, but that was below the estimates of at least 100,000 more than that. And part of this thinking goes that those numbers would have been strong and would have gone well over 700,000 new jobs if these extended jobless benefits were not a factor. Asa Hutchinson was among them, the Arkansas governor, among the first in the country to end these extra federal jobless benefits. He joins us right now. Governor, very good to see you.
Good to be with you, Neil.
Your executive order on ending this, Governor, actually would take effect at the beginning of this month, I believe. So it would not have shown up in the data for last month. Are you optimistic that what you and other governors have done will translate into better jobs numbers for the month of June when we get them in July?
I am optimistic about it, and you're right. We had to give at least 30 days notice whenever we ended the supplemental benefits. Our effective date is June 26. Many states have an effective date of June 30. And I think a couple of benefits from it. It immediately sent a signal to workers out there that you need to return to work, if you need training, we can provide training to you. If you need child care assistance, we're going to have that assistance available to you. But this is an encouragement to go back to work. We've already seen some anecdotal that people are saying, well, it's going to end, let's go ahead and get back to work. So I think we will see an increase in the numbers. But also, I believe the secondary benefit is that I was worried that President Biden would actually extend the supplemental unemployment benefits beyond September. And I think clearly now with over 20 states rejecting those supplemental benefits, I think they will end at the federal level. And that's necessary. We want people to get back to work. They're ready to get back to work, and employers absolutely need those workers to get back on the job so we can keep our economy moving.
Governor, you're probably aware of these late-breaking developments out of Europe, that all the major G7 countries, largely the richest on the planet, have agreed, at least on the concept of a global minimum tax on companies, multinationals, those with profits of at least 10%, to take effect. Now, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, the former Fed chair, has been pushing this at the behest of the president, thinks that this will avoid companies trying to avoid taxes. What do you think?
Well, I think that companies ought to pay taxes and pay their share, but as a governor that competes with other states, I'd hate to see the federal government telling us that we have to have a minimum tax or a set level. I do believe in that freedom of competition, and so instinctively I resist trying to have a global agreement that we're going to tell some countries you cannot try to incentivize multinational corporations to come there because they have to have a minimum tax. And so I understand the need to change the status quo to get more fairness in our tax system, but I don't like that restraint on freedom and competition that we'll see from this.
You think about it, Governor, this has been a big negotiating point on the part of the administration working with Republicans on this infrastructure package that the president is open to not raising corporate taxes up to the 28% level and would stick with this sort of 15% minimum as part of a global tax to woo Republicans to support an infrastructure package. If that was the means by which a deal could be had, would you be for that?
Well, if they can reach a bipartisan compromise then that is affordable for us, then sure, you ought to look at that. But I think that they need to stay at the table, and I hope that they continue discussions on this. I applaud the president for trying to seek a bipartisan agreement. But the conservatives, the Republicans need to hold fast that we can't pay for this by tax increases. We've generally viewed infrastructure needs as user fees and special revenues that can come in and pay for those. And so I hope that's the first option that they look at. But obviously, when you're trying to reach agreement, compromise is necessary. I think the most important point is getting at a level that we can afford, and we're not simply adding to the debt for the future. That's the most important principle to me in the negotiation.
Governor Hutchinson, very good seeing you. Thank you for coming in on a Saturday. Be well. All right.